All right, hey guys, we're going to be going over the substitution method today. We're going to start with a little warm up, so make sure you do have a piece of paper ready to go. On the piece of paper, you'll do both the warm up and take the notes. Oh yeah, and then we'll move along to our homework. So, if you need to pause the video, get that piece of paper ready. Go ahead and pause the video. Otherwise, here are your first two problems. Okay. If you go ahead and pause the video and complete these problems. Alrighty, number one is just a basic equation, okay, with variables on both sides. I'm gonna move it over here. We got 3a plus 6 equals 14 plus 2a. There's my equal sign. So I got variables on both sides. So let's move our variables to one side. So that's 0, and I'm going to add those up in a second. And since they're on the left, I have to move this 6 over. So minus 6. And I'm going to add those up. So I'm going to get 1a equals 8. Finish him. Divide by 1, and a equals 8. Okay, so there's that first one. Now, the second one, there's a little bit more work to do. This is a substitution problem like we had learned yesterday. So the first thing I'm going to look for is which equation is solved. And in this one, it's the bottom one. So the bottom one's solved. So there's my solved part. Okay. So this one says y equals. So I'm going to find my y. There's my y. And that's where I'm going to place and substitute my x minus 9. So when I write this out, I remember using this problem as our base. I'm writing it out. So I go negative 3x minus 8. I'm going to put parentheses where the y is because that's what I'm taking out, equals negative 5. And inside these parentheses, I put my x minus 9. And this is the equation that we're going to be solving. So first thing, distribute. And be careful distributing, especially with a negative. So negative 8 times x is negative 8x. Negative 8 times 9 is positive 72. Combine our like terms. So I'm going to have negative 11x plus 72 equals negative 5. Variable is just on the left, so I'm going to move the 72. So minus 72 on both sides. And that leaves me with negative 11x equals negative 77. Finish him. And I get x equals 7. Now, I just found the x value for my final answer. The x value is 7. I still have to figure out what the y value is. So to do that, I'm going to plug this back into my solved equation. Well, my solved equation here is the x minus 9. So x is 7. So I'm putting 7 in the place of my x. So I have 7 minus 9. Well, 7 minus 9 is negative 2. So the y value is negative 2. And there's my solution. Okay. All right. For our lesson. Now, you do not need to write these steps down again as long as you wrote them down yesterday. Okay, but our steps remain the same here. If necessary, we are going to solve the equation. And I'll be honest, we're going to have ones where one of the two equations are solved for you when we do substitution. Now, then we're going to substitute. Take what we consider our solved equation and plug it in. Okay, solve the equation that you come up with. Okay, and typically if we get to that part, we're fine. Once we get our first answer, we're going to plug it back into our solved, and we're going to get a second answer. Okay, you are able to check it by plugging it back in. Now, the ones that we're going to focus on today are problems like this, okay, where both equations are solved. So let's go ahead and write this down. We have y equals negative 3x plus 5, and y equals negative 5x plus 13. So the big thing is when we think about the question, do I have a solved equation? In this particular one, yes. Okay, which one is solved? Both of them are solved. So I just need to start by putting a box around one of the solved ones. Okay, so I put a box around that one. It says y equals, so I'm going to circle this y and I'm going to take it out. And I'm going to rewrite this equation, okay? But instead of a y, remember, that's where my parentheses go. Inside the parentheses, I put what's in my box. So negative 3x plus 5. Now, to be honest, because it's a 1 here, I really could get away with just removing these parentheses, because when I distribute a positive 1, that's done. Okay? And I have my equation to solve. Variables are on both sides, so we need to go ahead and get them on one side. Oops. So I'm going to add 5x to both sides. That's 0. These will get added up. Need to move that 5, so I'm going to go minus 5 on both sides. Those will get added up. So I'm going to have 2x equals 8. Finish him. Divide by 2, and x equals 4. Now, I do need to plug this in, and since they're both solved, you really have a choice. Just choose the one that you think's easier to use. I'm just going to go ahead and use that top one. So I'm going to plug that into this equation so that I can figure out what my second part of my answer is. Okay, x is 4. So in that place where the x is, I'm putting the 4. And I'm going to solve this. Distribute, multiply. I get negative 12. Negative 12 plus 5 is negative 7. Okay, so my final answer, remember, goes x, y. Okay, let's look at another one that's just like that. So let's look at this particular one. Right, sure. Okay, so for this particular problem, again, we have y equals negative 2x plus 7 and y equals 5x minus 7. Again, we have a problem where both equation is solved, so we are going to use substitution. Okay, so when they're both solved, I'm just going to put a box around the top one. It says y equals, so in the other equation, I'm going to circle the y. Okay, essentially this is getting placed right there. And I'm going to rewrite this equation with this substitution. Remember, that's where the parentheses go. Equals 5x minus 7, and inside the parentheses is what my box is. Negative 2x plus 7. Okay, I'm going to remove those because I just multiplied by positive 1. Doesn't change anything. Now, again, variables are on both sides, so let's get them on one side. So minus 5x on both sides. That's 0. In a second, I'll add those up. Have to move this 7 over. It's a positive, so I go minus 7 on both sides. That's 0, and I'm going to add those up. So I'm going to get negative 7x equals negative 14. Finish him. Divide both sides by negative 7. X equals 2. Have my first part of my answer. I need to plug it back in. And again, you choose whichever one of these you want to use. I'll keep it simple. I'm going to use the top one again. So my x is 2. So I'm going to put a 2 in that spot. And then I'm just going to solve this problem. And I just have to distribute. I said distribute again. I have to multiply. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. And then I add negative 4 plus 7 is positive 3. So this one would be 2, 3. Now, I did mention that you could check your answer. Okay, the way we would check our answer is by using the other equation. Okay, so I use the top one to figure out this y. I'm going to use the bottom one to check it. So y I figured out was 3. X I figured out was 2. So I have 5 times 2 minus 7. And if I did it right, these two sides should equal each other. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. So I know 100% that I have the right answer. The correct answer is 2, 3. Okay. If it was a wrong answer, this part would not have worked out. Okay. Now, what I want to focus on here with these two problems is I do not want you to do the whole problem. I want to make sure, sort of like what we did yesterday, I want to make sure that we understand how to rewrite it so that we can make our original equation to solve. Okay, so I basically want you to do that step right there, and that's it. So go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to do that initial substitution step on both of these problems, and I want to see what they look like. All right, the initial substitution step, okay, for this first one. There's the solve part. They're both solved. There's the solve part. I'm putting it in for y. So I should have 2x plus 9 equals 6x plus 21. Okay. And then from there, we would finish it off. We would solve, get our first answer, plug it back in, get our second one. Okay. Typically, if we get to this spot, we get the right answer. Okay. Here and there, we're going to make a random mistake, but typically, if we understand how to do this, we're good to go. Now, the second one, they're both solved again. So there's my solved one. Put a box around it. It goes in for the y. So I would have negative 4x plus 1 equals 8x minus 11. Okay. And then again, this is the critical part. You're going to solve this, get your answer, plug it back in. So on your homework, you are going to do the whole process. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I checked. You understand how to get to that point. Okay. Now, on your homework assignment, okay, it is a PDF there. Here are the answers. The answers are also on your worksheet. There's 6 of them. Okay. You do have to show all your work in order to receive credit for it. So make sure that you are showing that work. And if you have questions, please join your class's Google Meet today, and I will be able to answer some of those questions. If you happen to miss your Google Meet and you have a question, send me an email. We'll figure out a way to meet and we'll get it taken care of. I'll get your questions answered. All right. Have a great day, and we'll see ya.